The final night of the Democratic National Convention gave airtime to rising Democratic politicians who hadn't yet made appearances. From Andrew Yang to Tammy Duckworth to Keisha Lance Bottoms, everyone got a chance to speak. They also made space for Michael Bloomberg, Democratic sugar daddy, and Bruce Wayne, who never became Batman. Bloomberg used his speech to continue his years-long beef with Donald Trump, and then apparently started a new beef with a fly. And some people wondered why Bloomberg didn't just swat the fly away, but in his defense, Bloomberg has probably never even seen a fly. He only knows about rich people insects like June bugs and gold-plated beetles. But you see, my friends, this is what happens when you remove Steve Bannon from the ecosphere. He stops eating flies and they immediately get out of control. And if you're a fan of those quarantine reunion specials, you know, where the stars of our favorite old movies and TV shows get together to reminisce, well then you were in luck, because last night the DNC brought back the cast of the Democratic primary.
I am very excited to present to you a group of people that ran in the 2020 Democratic primary against Joe Biden. You can think of this sort of like Survivor on the out interviews of all the people that got voted off the island.
You remember the steak fry when we were waiting to go on? And he pulled me aside at one point and he pointed to somebody who we both knew who was working on my campaign and let me know that was somebody who'd gone through a family tragedy that Joe somehow knew about. And just thought it was important for me to know that about someone who is working with me.
The magic of Joe Biden is that everything he does becomes the new reasonable. If he comes with an ambitious plan to address climate change, all of a sudden, everyone's going to follow his lead.
This is why I love Americans. You people don't hold grudges. Because if this was a bunch of Africans who lost a presidential nomination, trust me on this, they'd be trying to Zoom the military to start a coup. We will storm their palace and get revenge on... Oh, hold on. I'm on mute. Am I on mute? Can you guys hear me? I actually really hope they do this loser Zoom thing at the Republican convention next week. Because I'd love to see Trump's former rivals reminiscing about the times he humiliated them or called their wives ugly and then they backed him anyway and then their souls died. Good times. But of course, the only part of last night that really mattered was Joe Biden's big acceptance speech. And because Donald Trump has spent months trying to portray Biden as a senile old man who can barely string a few words together, the stakes for the speech were especially high. But Biden rose to the occasion.
We have a great purpose as a nation to open the doors of opportunity to all Americans, to save our democracy, to be a light to the world once again. For love is more powerful than hate, hope is more powerful than fear, and light is more powerful than dark. This is our moment, this is our mission, and this is a battle we will win, and we'll do it together. I promise you. So it's with great honor and humility I accept this nomination for President of the United States of America.
I'm not gonna lie, watching Biden give this speech was nerve-wracking. It was like watching The Quiet Place. One wrong step and the whole thing is over. But honestly, he nailed it. He showed strength, he showed emotion, he made a powerful case for a more united America. And I actually think that Trump did Biden the biggest favor by making it seem like he's incompetent and senile. I mean, the bar has been set super low. As soon as America saw Biden had his jacket on the right way around, they were ready to give him a standing ovation. Biden speaking in complete sentences was just the icing on the cake. And last night also reminded us how different these candidates are. I mean, you've got the presidential candidate who's casually quoting Danish philosophers and Irish poets. And then you've got the president whose morning read is the back of a cereal box. You're right, Tony. They are great. Not as great as America, but so great. And honestly, I also think that it helped that Biden got to give the speech to an empty room. You know, because a live audience can add pressure. People applauding can throw off your rhythm. Sometimes there's a weirdo in the audience. You know, you'll see a guy dressed as Shrek, and then you'll just fixate on it. And it's hard to talk about healthcare when you're actually wondering, why is this guy dressed like Shrek? Is Shrek a metaphor for something? Is he at the wrong event? Maybe there's like a Shrek sex festival in town? The point is, the no crowd thing probably helped Biden. So that was the 2020 Democratic National Convention. And like all conventions, they had a lot to cover. You know, explaining various policies, nodding to various voting blocks, speaking just enough but not too much Spanish, and of course, showing those videos where one person starts a sentence,
but another person finishes the sentence.
But ultimately, there was one overall theme of the week.
I know Joe. He is a profoundly decent man.
Joe Biden is a decent man.
Decent man.
Decent.
Yes, decent is a word that came up over and over throughout this convention, which is really only a compliment if you say it the right way. He is decent. He's decent. And that was the main thing that the Democrats wanted to get across. You don't have to have a president who only cares about people if they have a boat or a felony conviction. No, you could have an actual human being who feels empathy for other human beings. And it wasn't just politicians attesting to Biden's decentness. The convention heard from a lot of everyday people, from a security guard who Biden stopped to talk to in an elevator, to a man Biden befriended when they were both lifeguards as teenagers, and even a rabbi who recalled Biden showing up at a woman's memorial service because she had once donated $18 to his campaign. But the highlight was probably last night's testimonial from a 13-year-old with a stutter.
Without Joe Biden, I wouldn't be talking to you today. About a few months ago, I met him in New Hampshire. He told me that we were members of the same club. Stutter. He told me about a book of poems by Yeats he would read out loud to practice. He showed me how he marks his addresses to make them easier to say out loud. I'm just a regular kid, and in a short amount of time, Joe Biden made me more confident about something that's bothered me my whole life.
Man, Braden is so lucky. He got speech lessons from Vice President Joe Biden, which actually helped him improve. Meanwhile, I made the mistake of getting speech lessons from President Obama, and it took me 4 hours to order a pizza with pepperoni. So the one thing this convention wanted to leave viewers with is that Joe Biden is a decent man who cares about others. And another thing that kept coming up over and over again is that Biden will take the time to talk to you on the phone, whether he knows you or not.
I remember I called my grandmother and I said, Joe Biden's walking by. And she goes, oh my God, put him on.
He talked to me for the next half hour.
If you give him your cell phone number,
he's going to call it.
I remember one night when I was giving one of those floor speeches, and I walked out of there and the cell phone rings. And you know who it was? It was Joe Biden.
My phone rang, and it was the vice president.
I called her. Someone wants to talk to you. Hi, Grammy. This is Joe Biden.
How often does he call you?
Like every day.
Yeah, every day.
I don't necessarily pick up every day, but I have a lot of voicemails.
Oh, I see what's happening here. Joe Biden's grandkids want him to be president just so he has less time to keep them on the phone. Because goddamn, Joe Biden calls a lot of people. No wonder he sometimes has a hard time remembering small details. This guy's memorized the entire phone book. In fact, he calls so many people. When I was watching this convention, I started to get self-conscious. I was like, why haven't I had a phone call from Joe Biden? Am I a bad person? Does he hate me? Am I on airplane mode? It must be airplane mode. I mean, it can't be any. It's probably, most of the time, it's airplane mode. That's why people don't call me. You know, Joe Biden spends so much of his time calling people on the phone that it made us wonder, what kind of phone plan does he use? Well, it turns out there's one specifically for him.
At T-Mobile, we have multiple plans with unlimited calling. But what if unlimited is still too limited? Introducing the Joe Biden Infinite Calling Plan for former vice presidents who are constantly calling everyone.
I met Joe Biden once at a campaign event and told him I was getting married the next summer. Then he actually called us on our wedding day to congratulate us for 6 hours. We actually missed the ceremony. But still, it was sweet.
With our Biden plan, your phone has access to our 5G network, and your contacts come pre-filled with the phone numbers of all 7 billion people on Earth.
When my son's goldfish died, Joe Biden called to advise me on how to console him. Up to that point, I had never met Joe Biden or even knew who he was, but thanks to Joe's advice, my son and I have never been closer, and he has no idea that I killed his goldfish.
Sign up today, and you can get a second phone line for twice the infinite calling.
Last week, Joe Biden called me out of nowhere and comforted me for about an hour about my broken leg. I didn't have any idea what he was talking about. Then the next week, I fell down the stairs and broke my leg. He was comforting me from the future.
Look, it's really sweet, but sometimes I just have to go. Oh, look, it's him. Hey, Joe. We're doing great. Just like yesterday.
The Biden plan for the man who can't stop, won't stop calling.